When you roll up Marley, it's really important to use the original core or a 3-inch PVC rigid piping that's longer than the width of the Marley, and you want to roll it up really, really tight, and then always stand it up on end during any storage period, or you suspend the roll. Don't ever lay the roll just flat on the ground for any period of time. Depending on the rigidity of the core, the Marley could pancake a little bit, and that can cause ripples in the Marley. Marley is, generally speaking, an indoor product, so you want to keep it away from the sun. You don't want it to get wet, so you can install it theoretically outside for a limited period of time, like a day, and maybe a day and a night and a day if it's covered. If it gets direct sunlight, it's going to heat up, especially if it's black, and heat and humidity will make PVC expand. Vinyl and sheet vinyl is basically a PVC product. Most of our customers will install their Marley themselves. The vast majority of the Marley is not glued down and really doesn't need to be, especially over a hard flat surface. There's going to be enough friction there where it's not going to move around. And you can use a single-sided vinyl around the perimeter, more of a finishing edge, so that you don't have the edge of the Marley just exposed. And then of course on the seams, you're more than likely familiar with the vinyl tape on the seams. There is a very specific vinyl tape that's recommended for Marley. Definitely don't use duct tape or gaffers tape. For sure not on a tour or a stage. You really don't want it because it's got a cloth surface, and the consistency of the top of that's going to be very different than the Marley. And the other thing is, you hit the sides repeatedly, it's going to want to curl up, and then you're going to have exposed adhesive coming up. That can get tracked around on the floor. If you're using that and you wonder why there's sticky stuff all over your floor, that's probably what's happening. One thing that is important with all floors in commercial settings is cleaning. And the very best way to clean the floor on a regular basis is to sweep the floor, because you just want to get any dirt, anything that's coming off the shoes up, and then you definitely want to mop it on a regular basis. Roscoe sells their heavy-duty floor cleaner. That'll, generally speaking, take off any of the markings that you might have experienced from tap shoes or jazz shoes. New jazz shoes have a long history of leaving black marks on all types of Marley. That's very common. The other type of marking on Marley floors that's really common is going to come from a tap shoe. The aluminum taps on the tap shoe will leave oxidation marks on vinyl sheeting, which is Marley. And that's true for all tap shoes that have aluminum taps, which are by far the most common that the kids are going to buy today. So, knowing this, you very much want to avoid gray Marley, because in 2 weeks it's going to look like it's completely marked up. The same markings probably are going to occur with a black floor. You're just not going to notice it as much. And then if there's any dust buildup, this is where you definitely want to sweep on a regular basis, and you want to keep an eye on any crumbing or particles that are building up on the floor. Those need to be swept up. Otherwise, if they're not, they can be ground into the Marley, and then you've got a bigger problem. So your Marley should last for a good 20 years if well kept. One somewhat common thing that we hear about is people experiencing markings or cuts in the floor. And anytime we see cuts happening in vinyl, we think that something sharp is cutting the floor. And if you're a tap dancer, you know the tap shoes have screws that hold in the metal plates. And so the vast majority of the time, somebody in the studio has a loose screw in their shoe that is creating gouges in the floor. So that's something to consider. Just generally speaking, if you ever notice it, you want to stop everybody right away and check everybody's, shoes. Thanks for watching Great Mats TV. It's been my pleasure to be with you today.